Hello everyone. I hope this finds all the listeners well. I wanted to make a couple of videos. Maybe I'll do them all today, or maybe I'll spread them out. Just on some basic etiquette for Orisha devotees. It's one of those things where, you know, sometimes you just take it for granted. You expect the people that come to your house to sort of pick it up as they go along, and usually they do. Um, But if you're like me and I'm not a big stickler, I'm a very laid back person. Sometimes that results in a failure for some of the godchildren, especially the more casual ones, to actually pick up on some of the required etiquette, and then not their fault, no, it's more my fault. Um, so I figured I'll make a video on it. Maybe you already know all these things. If I forget anything, please put it in the comments and let me know. Or if there's any part of the etiquette that you'd like me to address or expound on, I'm happy to do so if I know the answer. Okay, so let's start with greetings. When you walk into a priest's house, when you walk into an initiated person's house, even if they're not an active priest, if you initiated, the person who opens the door, if they are initiated and they are senior to you, right? Just from them opening the door, you see somebody senior to you ritualistically. You ask for their blessings right then and there. Hey! Now, how do we in the Lukumi tradition ask for somebody's blessings? In the Spanish way. We say bendición, which is a Spanish word for blessings, and we're asking for it. We'll get into some more of that, some more detail in a second. But the standard thing, you see someone, an elder priest, whether it's walking into their home or anywhere, someone who's senior to you, you say bendición, and their response can either be the standard, they will respond santo, which is just the Spanish word for saint, which that response, even though it's Spanish, is very specific to the Lukumi tradition. Or they can say something more traditionally Spanish, like Dios te bendiga, God bless you. They can creolize it a bit and say, like, if they are an Obatala person, they can say, Obatala te acompañe, may Obatala be with you. Many variations to that. Most of my people are English speaking, so I just say Obatala bless. It's sort of like a hybrid. But for the most part, you say that it's standard. Here in America, in New York, another greeting has become popular for such a long time, even though it's not like old school Lukumi. It is based on Yoruba language, and it's good. It's just saying the word alafia. Alafia is good. It's a nice greeting. It's kind of removing the Spanish colonial thing, but also realize that that does not contain a specific younger offering deference to the elder. It's still good. I mean, if the elder's okay with it and the elder likes it, hey, by all means. And I'll get into more about the interaction. But the junior initiating the show of respect is part of our culture. So just be mindful of that. Know your audience. What do they like? If you say alafia to someone who doesn't know what that means in that context, we all know what alafia means in other contexts. But in greetings, if they don't know it, they did not receive, right? They did not perceive, I should say, your show of respect, right? So, just be mindful. Okay, and this could be in any environment, in the street, in somebody's house, whatever. Well, let's say you knock on somebody's door. You know that there's potential priest on the other side, and that person who opens the door is your senior. You say bendición, alafia, whatever. But that's it. So, if the person is uninitiated, you don't have to. You greet them like a regular English or Spanish-speaking person. Hey, how you doing? You say alafia. You want to be more traditional Yoruba? She alafia ni. Your choice. Um, again, know your audience. Once you walk into the threshold of that physical home, once you walk in, it's actually traditional to say "agoile," right? With the permission of this house. Excuse me, house. You're saluting the physical house, but you're saluting all things spiritual within it. You're saluting all the people within earshot at once, right? That is not a junior to senior salutation. It is more of a common courtesy. Agoile. I hear that mostly amongst initiated people. Most non-initiates do not say agoile, but there is no rule that you can't. It's absolutely fine. Also, you'll see initiates when they say agoile, they sort of, with their fingertips, reach towards the ground. They don't always touch the ground all the way, but it's sort of a paying homage to the house and all that's into the house. Especially if there is an eshu or legbara by the door, it becomes even more appropriate. The people who are inside the house, if they recognize that greeting, they'll respond, ago ya. So it's agoile, ago ya. What does ago ya mean? I'm not sure. But that's standard. Now, let's say you go in and there's tons of people. Now, presumably, if the person who opened the door is your individual senior, is your individual elder, your initiator, your leader, then it would be very appropriate that once the door is closed and that and the other, you guys give your hugs and whatever, that you prostrate. And by prostrate, there's two ways that we prostrate in Lukumi. I'll just explain the simplest one. The simplest way is to lay flat on the floor, okay, arms to the side. A lot of people keep their face planted right in the floor. I kind of find that a little gross. I always turn my head to the side, especially if you don't know where you are or there's lots of foot traffic. I tend to, if it's not a designated sacred space that's purposely kept super clean, I always turn my head to the side when I cast myself on the ground. I don't put my face right on the floor. That's just me. Go by what your elder says, right? And then you wait for your elder to tap you on the shoulders and say the benediction. When you hear the word dide, that's your cue to stand up. Okay. Like I said, in Lukumi tradition, there are two ways to throw yourself. There's the flat way that I just described, and then there's a side-to-side way. If you're watching this video and you don't know which one you should be doing, then you should be doing the flat way. Don't even try to do the side-to-side unless in an actual environment an elder has told you, for whatever reason, you should be doing the side-to-side way. Okay? Do not, if you don't know why I'm saying that, trust me, you don't need to do the side-to-side way. In our tradition, and basically I'm going to summarize it in that until it is determined formally, we are all about the lost children, until explained otherwise, until determined otherwise. So, unlike Yoruba culture, where our religion comes from, for us, when we prostrate, our prostration is based on the orisha that guides us. In Yoruba land, it's based on the gender that you were born, with some exceptions. But for us, it's the gender of the orisha that guides you. So if you are a child of a batara, you will prostrate flat, regardless of your birth gender. If you are a child of Yemoja, Yemaya, you're going to prostrate side to side, regardless of your birth gender. Okay? like I said, if you don't know what your Orisha is through a formal session, then you're going to throw yourself flat always. Now, I have my speculations as to why I think Lukumi swapped. That's not really the point of this video. Very briefly, not only are there some places in your blend where Shango priestesses will prostrate flat, and maybe just that switch sort of got applied to absolutely everybody in every instance in Cuba. Don't know why, but that's my speculation. I have also read an academic paper by a Yoruba person that demonstrated other instances not associated with Shango where a woman can in fact throw a prostrate flat. She did provide no examples where men prostrate Inca style side to side or female, but like I said, so take that the way it is. Now, let's say the person who opens the door for you isn't your direct elder. Technically, before you start saying hi to absolutely everybody and prostrating to all the elders there, technically you should be asking the owner of the house, may I salute the shrine, the Orisha shrine. You don't walk in and socialize with everybody without saluting the deities of the house. If it's your house of devotion, and you already know that you have the freedom to go there on your own, by all means, go there on your own. Pay obedience to the shrine, and then go back out and greet everybody else. On your way to the shrine, you can say, hey, hi, everybody. I'll be right back. Everybody should have watched this video and know and not be offended that you're saluting the shrine before you're saluting them, right? Even elders would understand that, right? Okay, so you salute the shrine, then you could begin socializing. Again, it's preferable if your initiator, the owner of that shrine, is the one who blesses you at that moment. But if they're not available, if they're busy, somebody else could do it. And if nobody else can do it, pay your respects and then socialize. At that point, the next thing to do is to salute all the elders that are there in the house, right? You don't pick and choose which elders you salute, right? If they're older than you, if they're elders to you, you salute them through full prostration. How do you determine who's older than you? Well, if you're uninitiated, anybody who's initiated is your elder. Okay? So this is another thing, unlike Yoruba culture, where it's more about biological age. For us, it's age begins at initiation. So if you're uninitiated, and I'll give you the exceptions in a second. If you're uninitiated, you don't have age yet. You don't have any tenure. So anyone who is initiated, full initiation, is your senior. Okay? So if someone was initiated a year ago, and maybe they are 25 years old biologically, but 1 year in initiation age, and you are 25 years old biologically, and you're not initiated, then you would prostrate to that person, right? That's our culture. That's how we do it. I personally practice some exceptions to this rule. I do not allow anyone old enough to be my mother to prostrate to me. I don't care if they're not initiated or what. I just stop them halfway down and I bless them, right? Because as a priest, my priest position, I still want to provide the blessing. But the whole prostrating on the floor, if you're old enough to be my mom and older than that, you're not throwing yourself, right? And I'm going to tell you, all right, some will absolutely insist and just fling themselves on the floor. I can't stop them. I'll say thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bless you. And half the times I'll throw myself to them, right? I'll prostrate to them. Just to drive the point home. I do think that people who are biologically older have the ability to bless you as well. And I'm going to give you my justification for that. In the Odu of Ejionle or Ejogbe, right? It says Olodumare gives people titles um, by giving them gray hair. So how do we give people titles, right? Here humans give other people titles. Oh, I made you president. Here, now you have this title in your name, right? So human gave another human the title of president or vice president or all right, or maybe they made a religious title like I am now Apuno, I am now Oluo, right? So we humans are giving each other titles, right? But how does God Almighty, how does Olodumare give us a title? He puts gray hairs on our head. So somebody with gray hairs, for me, um, if I'm going to follow what a Jogba is teaching me, I have to also respect their age on Earth. Right now, you're going to have a lot of Lukumi people disagree with me, and that's fine. And it's true, right? Right. I also, me, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to throw myself to a 7-year-old, right? That's just the way life is, right? It's not going to happen, right? Obviously, a 7-year-old can't have more years of initiation than me, but I'm providing you that just as an example. Um, and speaking of 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, there is a danger. I'm going to tell you. Um, so it is good maybe like if you have a 7-year-old is an okay time to get initiated. So let's say now that they're 8 years old, they have a year of initiation. And now someone who's not initiated, oh, they start throwing themselves, right? So now you have grown adults prostrating before children. That is fine. I'm not arguing that. That is our culture. It is thing because when you prostrate to an initiate, you're not really prostrating just to that person. You're prostrating to the deity that is with them always, the Orisha that is on their heads, and so you're giving that thing its respect. It's not about the person. So even if you don't like a person, but they're your senior, you should throw yourself because you're respecting Orisha, not so much them. But in specific to 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, getting them used to having grown people prostrate. Um, Life advice. This is just advice. This is not regla de ocha. Make sure that you're balancing that with lessons of humility, because it's very easy for someone so young to become impressionable and view this idea of grown people prostrating to them as them having authority and power they actually don't have, right? That's a life lesson that you want them to when they interact with other people, with other elders, with elders, in their day-to-day life and even within the Orisha community, right? You're still a kid, right? So balance those things out when it's children, but but it is good to also teach children from young the ways of our tradition, right? So so that is that. So I said I do not throw myself to 7-year-olds. I'll tell you who else I don't throw myself to. I won't throw myself. I have over 20-something years of initiation. If you are exactly 1 month older than me, I will neither expect you to prostrate to me, nor will I prostrate to you. I think that's absurd at our age. Let's. I think we've reached the point where we can treat each other as equals. I know some people just really insist on that 1 month, 2 month. But that's not really a thing. Once you're older, like significantly, like once you have like a couple years on me, that's a different story. Um, then prostration becomes more appropriate. Um, Also, um, Lukumi, the Afro-Cuban tradition, also has a unique, I would say purely unique, but it's something different that maybe Isheshe traditional Yoruba people may not be used to. So for some reason, and I don't know the reason, for some reason, Babalawo, Ifa priests, the protocol for saluting them is different than saluting the initiates of Oshun Yamaja Shango. For them, when you greet a Babalawo, you you basically you don't do prostrate on the floor. you actually bend over and try to touch both hands on the floor with your fingertips. Okay, or get as close to the floor as possible. And you either kiss your fingertips or you go straight to, maybe shaking their hand or whatever, and giving them the hug. And you say Iburuboya. You don't say bendición, you say Iburuboya. Why no prostration? I'm not sure. I mean, I can speculate as to, the nomenclature, whether Babalawo considered crowned or not crowned. Don't really want to get into that on this particular thing. We can talk about it elsewhere. But that's just the culture. And you'll find a lot. Also, you'll have instances where a person doesn't know any better. They throw themselves fully. The Babalawo will be happy to lift them and give them the blessing, and then gently correct them. Hey, next time all you have to do is this. Now, I will say this. If the Babalawo is your Babalawo, if he is your specific elder, I recommend full prostration anyway. Okay, I see no reason for that. And also, when a Iyawo is in Igbodu, under the throne, and people come to visit and pay their respects, for those 7 days, I am certainly suggesting that an Iyawo do full prostration. After the year is up, they go back to the bending and whatever. Babalawo are senior priests, but it's their culture. It's their instruction, not our instructions, to do things that way. So it is what it is. What else? Part of the prostration, once you lift it, part of the prostration protocol is to then stand up and give a side-to-side hug. Hug on one side of the shoulder, then hug on the other. That is our tradition. COVID notwithstanding, you can do it from far. I think, while COVID is going on, I think everybody can agree that we're going to keep the hugging to a minimum. But it's side to side. Now, there's a very specific thing that we do in Lukumi that does not appear to exist in traditional Isheshe Yoruba. A lot of us, you'll see, we cross our arms here so that you can see it on the camera. Right? We cross our arms first, and then we do the side-to-side hug. Some people do not even uncross their arms. They just keep the crossed arms, and they sort of like do a shoulder touch on each side, whereas most other people, once they cross the arms and they show, then they open up their arms and they give a proper hug on each side. So this is interesting. I went to a lecture given by Baba Wande Abimbola, and when he saw that we do that, he explained to us that he was perplexed. He didn't understand why we did that. That in Yoruba culture, to cross your arms at that moment would actually be a symbol of I am rejecting what you're trying to give me. I am rejecting you at this moment. So from his point of view, he didn't understand why we did that. And so when I heard him say that, it made me research, like, hey, where would we get this from, and why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? And so what I found out is that the crossing of the arms is actually a very standard practice for Catholics to ask for blessing. Old school Catholics, you don't do that anymore. For example, Catholics have a tradition of taking First Holy Communion. And if you want to get a blessing, but you don't have your First Holy Communion yet, you can't get communion during Mass, you can still get online, cross your arms, and then you're telling the priest that I want your blessing. You can see older Spanish novels that even people asking for the blessings of their grandma, for example. Remember that word I told you, bendición? That they would cross their arms to ask the blessing of an elder. But the side-to-side hug is a very Yoruba thing. The prostrating completely face down, or the side-to-side, are very Yoruba. So you see in our Lukumi practice a very, very interesting fusion of two cultures that have been intermingled for at least 200 years, right? So it's interesting. Me, because I know this information, If I've just over the years, I've had this knowledge, and you'll notice I just don't cross my arms much anymore, right? When I prostrate to an elder, I go straight into the hug, right? Or nowadays, the elbow knock or whatever. So that's just more for your edification. You're not going to be able to use that information in real life. You prostrate yourself the way your elder tells you to do it. End of story. This is 25 minutes in just on prostration. I think I'll leave this video just to that. Yeah, I think that's it, and I'll make a new video for something else. Bye.